Ooh, what a big game Saturday. Michigan at Oklahoma, 7:30 Eastern kickoff, ABC. Let me set the table for you here. Michigan has won 13 straight night games. Why do we even continue with the preview? John Mateer. That's why we continue with the preview. We may look back on this one, you know. This quarterback matchup, I'm not big on doing the matchups of guys that won't be on the field at the same time, except that that's the marquee. You know, that's like the headliner. We got John Mateer. We got Bryce Underwood here. And Underwood looked pretty good last week. He looked better than I thought he'd look. And I have high expectations for him. Now, yes, I hear you in the back. You said what? It was who? It was New Mexico? Okay, I got you. Thank you. I didn't know who they played. I appreciate that, though. Yes, it was New Mexico. He looked good. So what does this game look like 3 or 4 years from now when we look back on it? We got John Mateer and we got Bryce Underwood. I think it will be very notable. It's already notable to me, but I think just the general casual fan will even look back and say, man, look at the history books. Whoa, these guys were on the field at the same time? Well, they played in the same game, yes. We have a theory around here. Number one, that this is a huge pressure spot for Brent Venables. That's not a theory, that's fact. But let me tell you about a theory we have. It is crowbar theory. We have several different theories and philosophies we teach at Pate State. And one of them is the crowbar theory. And the crowbar theory goes something like this. There is a certain caliber of defense that when it faces a one-dimensional offense, i.e. an offense that is having real trouble running the ball, but it's okay because their quarterback's a gunslinger. So if they can rush it for 56 yards, but he'll throw it for 410. When a good to great defense faces that kind of offense, they have the ability to put a crowbar in the bicycle spokes. If you've ever ridden a bicycle, you know that you can do one of two things to stop it. You can hit the brakes, at which point it slows down gradually, or you can throw something in the spokes and it stops immediately. You go flying over the handlebars. Face street pizza. Looks terrible. Takes weeks to heal. Point being, if you can't run the ball and you face a high-level defense, they can shut you down. So you're sitting there thinking to yourself, oh, let's say we're averaging 35 points per game. Well, even if we face that defense and they really get a handle on us, we'll still score 28. Nope. Crowbar theory is you go from scoring 35 a game to here we go into the fourth quarter. We've got 9 on the board. How has this happened? Crowbar theory is how it's happened. My question is, can Michigan crowbar Oklahoma? Last week, I was very unimpressed with how effectively Oklahoma ran the ball. Now, I will grant you it was Illinois State. We're still early in the season, so a lot of teams played a lot of inferior competition last week. Jaden Ott didn't play last week, tailback for Oklahoma. I don't know how many snaps I'm going to get out of him this week. Could be 1, could be 25. I have no idea, nor do my Oklahoma buddies. They are guessing anything and everything in between. But it's a prove-it week for this offensive line, and this is about as good a test as you'll get all year. Michigan, the names continue to churn, but the defensive profile, the identity remains the same. And if you can't get balance, if you can at least keep them convinced that you're committed to running the ball, even if you don't run it for 220 and 6 yards per carry, no one is even under the illusion you're going to do that. But if you can't maintain that, I'm as high on John Mateer as anyone in the country. I may be higher on him than his parents are. I picked him to win the Heisman. It is foolish to think he's just going to sling it all over Michigan. That's foolish. And if he does it, wonderful. And I'll take credit because I do have a Heisman ticket, but I don't expect that. So crowbar theory is in play here. Please don't let it happen. Hey, really quick timeout. We'll get right back to the video. Do me one favor. Make sure you're subscribed. It helps us keep the show free. It helps us keep the lights on. It helps us keep doing college football year-round, and we appreciate it. All right, back to the video. This is a baptism in the deep end for Bryce Underwood, though. Bryce Underwood has, I don't want to use the word transcendent, I don't want to use the word generational. He has a ton of talent, but he is a true freshman quarterback starting on the road in Norman, Oklahoma against Brent Venables. That recipe doesn't sound good. And for 99% of quarterbacks, it wouldn't be good. Is he a 1%er? He may be. So he's got a shot to just do some stuff that is not supposed to be done. Every now and then, every 5 years or so, you get a talent like that through the sport where you look at it and you say, Lenore Sellers does that kind of stuff. He does stuff where you say, what do you even do? You just got to tip your cap to him. Now, Justice Haynes could be very instrumental here. Obviously, tailback transfer from Alabama for those uninitiated. He could be a big player here, but look, I actually don't think rushing yardage is the most important aspect of this game for Michigan, because there's a world where they could run it for 200 yards and lose the game. Penn State, Ohio State vibes, in other words. It's great if you do run it for 200. I strongly advise it if you can do it, but their wide receivers are going to have to step up, because there's a world where Michigan just runs the ball, not at will, but they run it at a pretty good clip between the 20s, and then the field gets compressed down in the red area where Brent Venables shines anyway. And you have to settle for threes, or he gets you in third and long, and then you make ill-advised throws, and he turns you over, and you're looking at the box score saying, boy, we've outgained them. Man, we're running the ball 5.2 yards per carry. What's happening? Well, what's happening is you're doing that in a wide open field, and when the field's not wide open anymore, they're stoning you. The total in this game is fascinating because of that. There's crowbar theory two ways in this. So the running game, I think, will be there to some extent for Michigan, but tight ends are their best threat catching the ball, as far as I thought preseason, and it's well within their right to prove me wrong. But I think because of the two dynamics that I just talked about, I think quarterback mistakes are going to go a long way in deciding this game. I think it could honestly be the padlock stat. Quarterback mistakes could be the padlock stat in this game, because there is a chance that neither run game finds a ton of consistency. Michigan was under 3 yards per carry last week, absent 2 explosive runs. Now, those explosive runs count. And if you got them against New Mexico, maybe you can get them against Oklahoma. But if they limit the explosive run, Michigan didn't light the world on fire yards per carry on the ground last week, nor did Oklahoma. Both of them are facing way better run defenses this week than they did last week, which means, what if both ground games get stifled? And we got one guy in John Mateer facing a way higher caliber of competition than he's ever faced, biggest game of his life. And we got Bryce, obviously a true freshman, on the road against Brent Venables' biggest game of his career by 10 miles. That is a situation ripe for quarterback mistakes to decide a game. Wide receiver rooms, I think, have a decided edge to Oklahoma here. It's just, can Michigan profile the game in such a way where they look and say, hey, remember all those years Ohio State had the wide receiver edge? Remember all those years it didn't matter? They could profile the game that way. So let's take a look at what the model thinks. Right now, FanDuel has Oklahoma minus 5.5. Model completely agrees. We've got Oklahoma minus 5. Man, I could paint this thing either way. I think it's going to be a very, very tight game. And in that kind of game, I lean Oklahoma. I have liked Oklahoma in the game for a while. The more I look at it, though, and how much newness and how much uncertainty there is, I think it's going to be really, really tough to peg this one. So I'm going Oklahoma to win, but anything over 3, I am taking Michigan and the points. I'm not betting on this game. At least I'm not betting the side.